Welcome to the deep dive, where we dig into the sources, pull out the facts, and try to figure out what's really going on behind some of the world's most captivating stories.
That's right.
Today, we're buckling up for a flight that, well, supposedly never landed. Or maybe it landed decades late. It's the incredible, chilling legend of Pan Am Flight 914.
It's a classic.
So let's set the scene. We start back in 1955, July 2nd, New York City. A Douglas DC-4, just a standard propeller plane back then, Flight 914 they called it, takes off from LaGuardia, headed for Miami, standard stuff, 57 passengers, 6 crew members, and then poof, it vanishes.
Gone. No Mayday, no wreckage found, nothing.
Exactly. For years, decades, really, it's just this total aviation mystery. Where did it go?
Right.
But here's where the story, when everyone talks about online, gets really weird. The sources claim that 37 years later, so 1992, the same plane suddenly reappears. And it lands not in Miami, but way down in Caracas, Venezuela, Maiquetía International Airport.
Okay, well, 37 years.
And get this, the passengers haven't aged a day. Still in their 1950s clothes. The pilot radios down, totally confused, asking what year it is.
Seriously?
Says he left in 55. Hands over a calendar from July 1955 to the tower. And then almost immediately, the whole thing gets hushed up. U.S. government swoops in. Plane disappears again. Sealed files.
Right. And that's a story that just exploded, especially online. It's fascinating, actually, how this narrative, which was literally designed, to sell supermarket tabloids.
Right.
It just transcended that. It became this huge internet legend. We're talking millions of views, 500,000 shares on one TikTok thread just last year.
Incredible.
So our mission today in this deep dive is to really unpack this using the sources. Is it a genuine time rift, some kind of massive government cover-up? Or is it, well, maybe the ultimate hoax that just went viral? We're going to tackle all those questions about Flight 914.
Okay, let's start with the legend itself, that cinematic version. Paint that picture for us again, the Caracas landing in 92.
Okay, so imagine this. Caracas Airport, 1992, modern jets around.
Yeah.
Suddenly, this old, kind of ghostly Douglas DC-4, a prop plane, buzzes onto the radar.
Completely out of place.
Totally. Air traffic control is bewildered, right? They guide it in, it lands, the door opens, and out step people dressed like they walked off the set of, I don't know, Leave It to Beaver.
Holding newspapers from 55, talking about Eisenhower.
Exactly. That's the detail that always gets mentioned. And the captain, sounding panicked over the radio, asking, "Where are we? What year is this?"
It's pure drama.
Absolutely perfect storytelling. The legend goes on to say that the controllers, after the initial shock, they refueled the plane. The plan is to send it back to Miami where it belonged.
Makes sense, I guess.
Before they can, supposedly, U.S. government agents show up. Everything gets classified, top secret. The plane takes off again, maybe escorted, and vanishes forever. It hits all the right notes. Mystery, time travel, government conspiracy.
Yeah, it's compelling. You can see why people grab onto it.
But, and this is the big but,
Yeah.
we have to deliver that gut punch reality check right now.
Fire.
Based on pretty much every single piece of official aviation history we can find, this story just never happened at all.
Wow. Okay, so zero truth to it. What specific records did the aviator historians check? How can they be so sure it's pure fantasy?
Well, it kind of crumbles right at the foundation, the legal and historical level.
Right.
Researchers, aviation historians, they went looking.
Right.
They checked FAA logs. Nothing. Pan Am's own manifests for passengers and flights.
Yep.
Nope. And crucially, NTSB reports, that's the National Transportation Safety Board. They investigate every civilian plane crash or major incident.
They'd have to have something from 1955 if a plane vanished.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But there's nothing. No record of a missing DC-4, flight number 914, from Pan Am in 1955. They did fly DC-4s, sure, but that specific flight doesn't exist in the records.
So the flight number itself is made up.
Completely fictitious. And you know that grainy black and white photo you always see online? The one supposedly of Flight 914?
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's just a generic, uncredited, stock photo of a DC-4 from that era. It was used in the original tabloid story, and it just keeps getting recycled as proof.
That's amazing that something totally fabricated can feel so real and just hang around for so long. Why? Why do these stories stick even after they've been debunked again and again?
Well, it's sort of engineered perfectly, isn't it? It plays on our psychology. It taps into nostalgia, like you said, the Eisenhower headlines, the 50s fashion, that whole vibe.
A simpler time, supposedly.
All right. And it's also wish fulfillment, in a way. We want impossible things like time travel to be real.
Mm.
And maybe more importantly, we crave resolution for real-life mysteries.
Like Amelia Earhart, you mentioned her earlier.
Exactly. When someone famous vanishes without a trace, the public is kind of primed,
Huh.
ready to believe in miraculous returns, even if it defies all logic. Flight 914 feeds that need.
Okay, so if it didn't happen, where did this story actually come from? You said it wasn't ancient folklore.
Not at all. This has a very specific, traceable origin. We're looking at a publicity stunt from the 1980s that just kind of spiraled out of control.
A publicity stunt, so straight from the tabloids at the grocery store checkout.
Bingo. You nailed it. The story made its grand debut in the May 1985 issue of the Weekly World News, WWN.
Oh, Weekly World News. The Bat Boy guys.
The very same. Famous for Bad Boy found in a cave, aliens meeting the president, Elvis sightings, you name it.
Okay, knowing the sources? Well, that's a pretty big clue right there, isn't it? Bat Boy and Flight 914 came from the same place.
It should be clue number one. The editor of WWN back then, a guy named Dick Kulpa, he actually admitted it later, publicly, said the Flight 914 story was pure fiction, 100% made up just to sell papers.
No research involved.
Zero research. They basically just mashed together some classic Bermuda Triangle myths, vanishing planes, and threw in a big dose of time travel. Why? Because it's 1985.
Back to the Future.
Exactly. That movie was huge. Time travel was hot. So they cooked up this story. It was basically clickbait, 80s print style.
But it didn't just stay in the Weekly World News. The sources show it started to mutate, right? How did it spread and become this internet immortal?
Yeah, it really took on a life of its own. First off, WWN wasn't even original. They kind of recycled the whole idea from an older, much less known British ghost flight hoax from the 1960s.
Ah, so even the Hoax was a copy.
Pretty much. Sensational news often is, right?
Hey.
Then a key step. In 1988, a newspaper in Venezuela, El Tiempo, picked it up. But they got the details garbled.
How so?
They printed a version claiming the landing happened in 1985, not 92 like the WWN story eventually settled on. But that mistake gave this crucial international footprint, made it seem like news from another country.
And then came the internet, which takes us to the modern day, right? The
Yeah.
TikToks, the YouTube videos, those AI documents you mentioned.
Yes, this is where it gets really interesting for us now. The internet just poured gasoline on it. You've got YouTube videos with millions of views, mixing grainy photos with maybe some fake interviews.
And the AI stuff. What did those declassified documents look like? Were they convincing?
Oh yeah, scarily so. The latest wave uses AI to generate these leaked or declassified documents. They look very convincing. They've got like 1990s U.S. Air Force file stamps, classification marks, top secret watermarks.
No.
And these get shared like crazy on platforms like TikTok, often mixed with memes about quantum physics or whatever, making it seem both mysterious and maybe scientifically plausible to some people. It's the perfect storm. Old hoax, government secrecy vibes, plus new tech fakery.
It just shows how the tools of the hoax evolved, doesn't it? From a grainy photo in a tabloid to AI forging government files. Okay, let's really break down the core claims, the facts that make the story so juicy, and use the source evidence to just, well, shatter them. Claim one, the passengers didn't age, looked fresh out of 1955.
Right, the Twilight Zone element. Reality check, basic biology and physics, people age, time passes. This is pure fantasy, designed to make the story weirder and more compelling.
And the proof it's baseless.
Well, as we said, no passenger manifests exist for this fictional flight. Pan Am's archives confirm no such flight went missing. If 63 people really time-jumped and reappeared, even with a cover-up, there'd be some trace relatives, social security numbers, something. But there's nothing, because they weren't real.
Okay. Claim two, the pilot's freak out. He dramatically hands over that 1955 flight plan, dated July 2nd. Big moment in the story.
Pure theater. Again, written for maximum drama by the WWN folks. Real flight documentation isn't usually a single calendar page. Pilots use detailed IFR logs, instrument flight rules logs.
And those logs?
We checked, or rather researchers have. There are no archived IFR logs missing or showing anomalies for that NYC-Miami route on that day or around that time. The FAA also has zero incident reports matching this scenario for 1955. It's just a manufactured detail to sell the story.
Got it. Claim three, and this is the big one for conspiracy buffs. The government cover-up, U.S. Air Force shows up, maybe escorts the plane away, everyone involved is silenced. Now hang on, the U.S. government did cover things up during the Cold War, right? Aviation stuff, military secrets.
That's a fair point, absolutely. The Cold War era was full of secrecy.
So why is the cover-up claim specifically unbelievable here, apart from the flight itself being fake?
Good question. While governments can cover things up, the scale here makes it highly improbable. First, The cover-up narrative is classic conspiracy bait. It's designed to shut down questions by saying, you can't find proof because it's covered up.
A circular argument.
Exactly. But think about it. This involves 63 individuals, 57 passengers, 6 crew, plus Venezuelan air traffic controllers, ground crew, maybe military personnel, silencing that many people across borders for decades without a single credible leak. It stretches belief.
Especially with things like FOIA requests now.
Precisely. The Freedom of Information Act has forced the declassification of countless files from the 50s, 60s, 70s. If something this monumental happened, involving a major airline and dozens of civilians reappearing after decades, something likely would have surfaced in declassified aviation or intelligence files in the National Archives. But there's nothing. The silence isn't proof of conspiracy, it's proof nothing happened.
Okay, that makes sense. And the last big claim, the Bermuda Triangle link. Vanished near Florida. Same spooky vortex that supposedly got Flight 19, the Navy bombers.
Another trope they borrowed. The Bermuda Triangle myth is persistent, but it doesn't even fit the geography here.
How so?
Flight 914's alleged route was New York to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
That's largely over the U.S. mainland, especially the early parts. It's not cutting through the heart of the supposed triangle zone out over the Atlantic. Plus, NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, has repeatedly debunked the idea of the triangle being a statistically significant hotspot for disappearances. It's just adding spooky flavor.
Gotcha. And before we move on, we have to mention that little gem from the sources, the weekly World News follow-up story in 1993.
Oh, yeah. They couldn't resist, could they? They realized they had a hit. So in 93, they ran another story claiming Flight 914 had time jumped again.
Where this time?
Destination 2059. Pure sequel bait. And incredibly, that follow-up tidbit still pops up on places like Reddit today. The hoax just keeps on giving.
It really does. Okay, so we've established it's a hoax, born in a tabloid, amplified by the internet. But let's indulge the fantasy for a second. The thought experiment.
All right.
Ignoring the hoax part, if something like this were to happen, how could time travel theoretically even explain it? What does physics say about jumping 37 years?
Okay, stepping firmly into theoretical physics here. We're talking concepts rooted in Einstein's general relativity. The main candidate would probably be something like a wormhole.
The Einstein-Rosen bridge thing?
Exactly. Think of it as folding space-time, creating a shortcut not just through space, but potentially through time as well. Physicist Kip Thorne has done significant work modeling these. Theoretically, a plane could enter one end.
And pop out decades later.
Potentially.
Yep.
And if the subjective time experienced inside the wormhole was very short, the passengers wouldn't have aged significantly. That fits the legend, at least.
But the energy needed to create or find one of these things. It's not like flying through a cloud, right?
Oh, not even close. We're talking astronomical amounts of energy. NASA and other theoretical physicists estimate that creating and stabilizing a wormhole large enough for even a small object, let alone a DC-4 airliner,
Yeah.
you'd likely need the equivalent mass energy of a black hole. Or perhaps access to exotic matter with negative mass, something we haven't even proven exists, let alone know how to manipulate.
And critically, even if wormholes existed, a 1955 DC-4.
Absolutely no way. The avionics were primitive by today's standards. The plane itself is just metal wires and propellers. The physics required to navigate or survive something like a space-time distortion wasn't even fully theorized then, let alone built into a passenger plane. So while wormholes are fun science fiction,
No verified cases, nothing even close.
zero. It remains purely in the realm of sci-fi speculation.
So let's connect this to the bigger picture then. We know it was impossible in 1955. What about now, or in the future? Could a Flight 914 scenario happen in a different era?
That's a great question. Let's look at it chronologically. Past 1950s reality. As we've covered, physically impossible with their tech, and logistically, the cover-up needed for 63 people, plus crew, plus controllers in radar-saturated Cold War skies.
Yeah.
Highly, highly unlikely.
Okay.
Present, 2025 lens. Now, faking it, much easier. You could use sophisticated drones mimicking old planes, deepfake videos of witnesses, actors, hacked air traffic control audio.
Use Midjourney to create leaked photos, ChatGPT for fake testimony.
Exactly. The tools to create a believable hoax are powerful. However, the tools to debunk it are also much stronger. We have global satellite tracking, ADS-B specifically.
Right, that tracks basically every commercial flight in real time.
Correct. Any large aircraft appearing out of nowhere or vanishing mysteriously would trigger immediate flags in multiple independent systems worldwide. AI monitoring flight data would spot anomalies instantly. So while you could create the hoax and maybe get it to go viral for a bit,
It would likely get exposed pretty fast by the actual data.
very fast. days, maybe hours, for the core flight data part. The hoax survives longer purely because of social media echo chambers, where the story outruns the facts.
Okay, and looking further out, future sci-fi horizon. You mentioned warp drives earlier. Could this become, I don't know, actually possible by, say, 2050?
Now we're really speculating. But
Yeah.
if, and it's a huge if, theoretical concepts like the Alcubierre warp drive ever became reality.
That's the one that bends space-time around the ship.
Yeah, like riding a wave in space-time. It doesn't necessarily violate known physics in the same way faster than light travel does, but it still requires, you guessed it, exotic matter or enormous energy, if that hurdle were somehow overcome.
Could a ship warp years into the future?
Theoretically, yes. It could traverse vast distances, potentially arriving at a destination years after it left, with little time passing for those on board. But the implications are staggering.
Ethical dilemmas, right?
Massive ones. Uneven aging. Imagine leaving loved ones behind and returning when they're decades older. Governments would almost certainly try to regulate or ban time tourism. And the cost.
Yeah.
We're not talking tabloid budgets anymore.
What kind of resources are we talking?
Our sources suggest trying something like this, bending space-time on that scale.
Hmm.
You'd need probably a rogue physicist with Nobel Prize-level genius, maybe $10 trillion, and E-level resources, not just a clever hoaxer.
So bottom line, Pan Am Flight 914, it didn't actually time travel into the future.
Nope.
But the story itself kind of transcended time, didn't it? It became this cultural zombie, endlessly reanimated online.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's fueled by our fascination with the impossible, our love of a good mystery, and maybe a touch of government distrust.
And the truly amazing thing isn't the physics, it's that this completely fake story, born in the same place as Bat Boy,
Oh, yeah.
it actually outlived Pan Am itself. The airline went bankrupt in 1991, a year before the fictional plane supposedly landed in Caracas.
That irony is just incredible. So, the final conclusion here. There are no real loose ends on Flight 914. It's a closed case of fabrication. But it serves as this powerful reminder, doesn't it?
To question what you see online.
Absolutely. To question the skies, question the sensational stories, especially in this age of information overload. Critical thinking isn't just useful, it's essential to navigate a world where fiction can look incredibly convincing and travel instantly.
Well said. Which leaves us with our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay?
Knowing everything we know now about ADS-B tracking, global surveillance, deepfake detection capabilities, blockchain verification may be coming, could anyone actually replicate this exact kind of hoax today? A sudden, believable vanishing and reappearance of a flight and keep it secret long-term? Or would it just be impossible to sustain beyond, say, a viral weekend stunt before Snopes and the global data trackers inevitably call BS?